Welcome to 2025, where our cars are keyless, our phones are wireless, and we've got so many things that just seem less in this particular year and the year before it. And do you know what else seems to be less? It's the sex. The sex is really quite careless. Have you ever at any point in time organized a birthday party or any kind of party of your choice, and you realize suddenly you see one of your guests? You see a guest at the party and you're wondering, what's this guy doing at my party? I never invited him. I never wanted to invite him, and I don't want this guy at this party. But that's not your biggest problem. This guy comes around, drink all your wine, eat all your food, and refuses to leave. He refusing to leave, most people would say is the worst of the case. But nah. This guy is going to stay around and cause trouble. He's going to wreak havoc to every fabric of that party. And despite security and everything, he still stays there because he's never going to leave. In this video, we'll be talking about this particular guest. And the name of this guest is the HPV, the human papillomavirus, one of the most deadly viruses to ever exist amongst mankind. It causes cancer, different type of cancer, and it's not something you want to have in your body. But unfortunately, so many people, millions of people have this virus around. They've got this virus in their party, and the problem is they don't even know. So in today's video, we'll be talking about this particular bad boy. We'll be talking about every fabric of this bad boy, what it's all about, how you normally get it, and how you can present it, how you can prevent it. Because at the end of this video, I will be telling you a very good news about this particular guy, despite the fact that so many people have it in their system, how you can prevent it. And there is something around in today to actually prevent everyone. To actually avoid it. And if you can just take that leap of faith and do it, very simple stuff. This guest will never come to your party. This guest will avoid your party by all means, even if your party is next to this guest house. Now, let's go to the teaching screen where we'll be talking in details about this particular guy. Now, in this teaching series, we'll be talking about a lot of diseases. So if you like anything like that, kindly subscribe to the channel. So this presentation will be about how HPV can cause cancer. And it is all about understanding HPV and its link to cancer and the crucial way of actually preventing this particular disease. So what is HPV? HPV is called the human papillomavirus. It is not an hepatitis. Just I know it just sounds like the same way hepatitis B virus is HBV. This is HPV, but it is not an hepatitis. It is human papillomavirus. So it is a common virus that infects the skin and the mucous membranes. The skin and the mucous membrane. The mucous membrane are the kind of stuff you've got inside your body, like just under your tongue or maybe your anus. You've got a mucous membrane in so many parts of your body. And this particular guest stays at this particular location during the party. So we've got so many types of HPV. We've got hundreds of types of HPV. However, not every one of them are high risk. Some are low risk. And when we talk about, although some are low risk, they can still cause some things. If you've ever heard about the this stuff called warts, it's what you've got just around the penile area or the vagina area for women that just have this kind of vesicles, where I'll be showing on the screen right now. This is something very common. It's still caused by HPV, but it's the low risk type of HPV that normally cause warts. However, the high risk can cause cancer. So, how does HPV cause cancer? So, it's an infection. It's an infection. So, basically, to summarize this screen, the first way to get HPV is mostly skin to skin contact. And what do I mean by skin to skin contact? Is mostly by sexual intercourse. Most people will get HPV by having sex with someone with HPV. And this includes your one night stand, 30 night stand, or even having sex with your own partner. Now, let me give you a story to actually summarize the dangers of HPV. There is a man who is married to a wife. The wife died. And this man felt so bad. It's one of the worst experiences of his life, losing a spouse. After 2 years, he decided to remarry. 15 years later, the new wife will be dead. Now, the question is, what could be causing repeated deaths of these wives? Do you know the relationship between the first and the second wife's cause of death? It is cervical cancer. Now, after severe, different kind of tests done, it was realized that this man does have an high-risk HPV in his body that he's been carrying around and infecting his wives, leading to their deaths. So, HPV is very deadly. And on the course of this video, don't think it does affect or causes cancer in just men alone. It does have its own very high risk to women. Don't think this does have only high risk to men alone. Don't think it does have the risk to women alone. It does have its risk to men, which we'll also be talking about on the course of the video. So, talking about the screen, the HPV enters the body through skin to skin contact, having sex basically. Then this virus starts to replicate. This is one of the things viruses are good at. Just as humans are 7 billion on Earth, this guest is going to come to your party, meet a girl, and have children in your party. And at the end of the day, you see most people at this party are offspring of this guest. That's the same thing HPV does. It makes children very fast and start wreaking havoc very fast. So HPV's DNA can integrate into the host DNA. So even though you're the one hosting the party, even though this is your body, guess what? The next time you see it, the musician, the caterer, and everyone at this party have features of the guest. It's like a zombie party at this point in time. And something about the DNA is when it's triggered, it changes how it normally behaves. So the DNA is the chemical fabric of the human body, just as you'd see on the Maureen show where people say, oh, they did DNA and discovered this guy is in the father. It's the same thing. So the DNA is how you'd know what differentiates myself from even a close sibling is our DNA. The only two people who basically share the same DNA are identical twins. So many of us who are not identical twins, there are a lot of differences. There are differences you can see within our DNA that shows this is a different person. So the DNA is basically what gives information to every part of your body. It is the reason why you're tall or you're short or just so many parts of who you are basically. And what DNA also does is it holds the information on the type of cells that should be developed in the body. And when the HPV gets into the DNA and tells it, now I don't want you to develop the normal cells, develop cancerous cells. And the DNA will do nothing but to listen, because it's got a master at the party now, and it's a different master, and the instructions are different. You know? Because the musician at this party is an offspring of the guest. It's going to play the song the guest wants at this point in time. So abnormal cell growth can lead to pre-cancerous lesions and eventually cancer. And that's what HPV does to the body. It gets into the body, goes into the DNA, tells the DNA to develop cells abnormally. And this is high-risk case for cancer. Now, what are the types of cancer that can be developed as a result of HPV? Cervical cancer is number one. It is the most common type of cancer that you can actually see from HPV in the body. And the next type is oropharyngeal. It is basically the cancer of the throat. Then we've got the anal cancer, and then we also have the vulval, vagina, and the penile cancer. So now, let's talk about cervical cancer and HPV. So for you to actually develop cancer from HPV, one thing is constant. You must have had a long-term infection with high-risk HPV types. Like I said originally, there are types of HPV that are not high risk. But then you must have had an high-risk HPV to actually develop cervical cancer. And as a result of this, the first thing you develop before you develop this cancer is what we call the precancerous lesions. This is the beginning of the good news. Have you ever heard about cervical smear test for women, where the hospital expects women to come in for cervical smear test? For women who go for this test every time, they are not likely to actually end up developing cervical cancer, because before this cancer become cancer, it shows signs. And during the cervical smear test, the doctor or whosoever is in charge of this is able to identify this risk of cancer, and a solution would come into place. Because as soon as it develops cancer, we're talking about prognosis here, and it's really dangerous. So a precancerous lesion will be present, and the test, constant cervical smear test, can help prevent cancer. In this case, in the case of someone who already has the HPV and is now high risk for cancer. However, if this test is not done and this guy is not stopped in time, now you've got the real problem, which is cervical cancer, which is basically a cancerous cells that invade the cervix and the surrounding tissues. Now, like we said originally, there are other HPV-related cancers: this cancer of the throat, the anal cancer, the vulvar, vagina, and the penile cancer. As you can see here, men are not totally out of the blue, because it can cause cancer of the penis. And anal cancer is more common with people who are living with HIV, and it is basically commoner amongst men who have sex with men. I believe that is self-explanatory on its own. So now, the good news, the spiritual good news. So HPV can be prevented. You can stop yourself from having this crazy guy. You can have appropriate security against this guy. And what do? You get vaccinated. Vaccination is given to people at around the age of 13, 14 in the UK. And this is recommended for both boys and girls. So as soon as you hit that age and you get your vaccine, you're not likely to ever get this HPV anymore. As soon as it gets into your body recognizes and say, "Oh, show me your passport. Who are you?" And they're like, "Oh, I'm HPV." It's like, nah. You're not invited to this party. And if it tries to force itself into the party, it's going to go to jail, because you've got big, tough guys, security guys. So now, the good news, like I said, you get vaccinated. HPV vaccine is available in different countries, almost everywhere in the world. You just need to request for it. As soon as you finish watching this video, if you don't think you're vaccinated yet, it's important. Get vaccinated against HPV. So basically, the importance of early screening for HPV, not just about the vaccination, doing your Cervical smear test is very important. Of course, there are treatment options for early detection of any form of precancerous lesions in case it has happened and you think that's all you're going to develop cancer. That's not true. Even if you've got a precancerous lesion or you've got HPV in your system, everything can be fine. It doesn't necessarily mean you develop a cancer. Yeah, it doesn't mean you develop cancer. You just have to keep up with your appointment in the hospital and be sure you are fine. You listen to your doctors, and I believe you'll be fine. So basically, what this video is all about is we've got a guest coming to a party. The name of this guest is HPV. It can cause cancer if not if not well taken care of early enough. And there is a good news: vaccination. As soon as you get vaccinated and you're fine, you're good. So basically, that is how sex can cause cancer. Thank you very much for watching this video. In subsequent video, we'll be talking about vaccination and why it's important to actually get vaccinated. A lot of arguments about vaccination. We saw what the JFK guy and Donald Trump is saying about vaccines recently, and it's something I think I should weigh into and talk about. So if you guys are interested in that, you can actually subscribe to this video, to this channel rather, and enjoy yourself. Thank you very much for watching the video. See you another time. Yo.